Today on TruckU, we'll show you how to build your Jeep in stages so you can take your rig as far as you want to go on your next trail ride.
Hey, welcome to TruckU. Today we've got this 07 JK in the shop. Cool looking ride. These are a lot of fun, and you're starting to see more of these on and off the road.
Yeah, up north, you know, they're more and more commonplace. Everybody wants a four-wheel drive vehicle, and it's not really a matter of, you know, I want to go off-roading initially. It's just a matter of practicality.
Sure.
It's winter, you got snow, you got ice, you want to get down the road and get there in one piece. The thing happens is the snow and all that stuff melts. And it's springtime and it's muddy and you start having some fun and you think, well, now I can do a little trail riding and now I can do some obstacle climbing, and you know what, now I need to upgrade my operation so I can have more and more fun, and it just starts spinning its wheels, and so to speak, and you start having some fun.
Now you're down with the sickness. Then you're going to competitions and you're watching these other guys. Next thing you know, you're going to the competitions and you're competing.
Yep.
And it all spirals out of control from there. And all of us collectively could not be more happy about it. So our buddies right up the road throw this big event every year. A lot of vehicles out there like this, and they've got some trails with multiple layers of difficulty. So I think now would be a good time to head out and see if anything goes wrong, right?
I've been coming to the Jeep Toberfest since they started. There's every kind of Jeep you can ever imagine here, from stock street drivers to rock crawlers to show Jeeps. It's great all the way around. They've done a super job.
The open differentials, when you're going, your suspension's moving around a lot. When you get more weight off one wheel, that's the wheel that tends to, all the power goes to, so you get no traction. You can't move forward a lot of times. So, and like, I have a limited slip in the back, but it doesn't always stay. It's not like an all-time locker, but it's a lot better than just an open differential. It sends some power to both wheels majority of the time.
The first thing we noticed out there was a simple lack of traction. It was all over the place. There was a lot of that going on. And fortunately, that's an easy thing to fix because you can just throw a locker in the differential. The majority of four-wheel drive vehicles come from the factory with an open differential, which means, you know, the power's coming in from the drive shaft, shooting out to the axles and spinning them. Well, if this tire gets bogged down in something and is not going to spin anymore, this one's just going to spin freely. Well, sure, you're most likely not going to break an axle, but you're also stuck as well.
Right, you know, we can give you guys an example here. Matt, if you hold on to the lugs on that side, I'll turn it. So what happens is, Matt's the side where it's stuck, and what you do is you put the throttle down, and this side starts spinning, right? It's going round and round, and it's driving. That side's not driving. You can see that gear standing still when I spin this. So the fix is we're gonna put in the Ected Max from Auburn Gear, and now when you flip the switch, you put power to the locker, you're driving both sides of this thing and you can get over the obstacles, you can get down the road, you flip it off and you're back to an open differential and you can corner and do all the things you need to do for everyday driving.
So we got the diff cover off and we're starting to get into the meat of this, and you see these bearing caps right here. And these are engineered to go on a specific way, right to left and top to bottom. So when you're taking this apart, you want to make sure that you put them back the right way. So an easy way here is this one's marked. It's got a little W right there, and the W is facing that way, right? So there's your W on the bearing cap, and that's facing the same way too. So you can match those up, that way you don't screw it up. You go over here to this side, you got a W looking up, and there is a W in there. It's a little bit hard to see on that one, but it is there and it's going up. That way you put everything back together the right way.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason for that, because this is line honed to go in that certain direction. So if you've flipped the cap around or you flip the orientation from left to right, you could have a problem. You can have a bearing seize up prematurely. So make sure you stamp them if they're not stamped already so they go back in the right place.
All right, let's get these axles out of here.
All right.
Our stock differential is out, and we're getting ready to install our new one that we got from Auburn Gear. It's the ECTED Max, and this is the fully locking differential right there. Now, what's nice about this is it's going to help you get to places that you could never go before, right? But there's a lot going on because differentials themselves can be very, very complicated, but the concept of them isn't all that bad. We've got one here. This is new, this is complete, and all the gears are in there, and you can see. Over here are all the parts that cram in there. It's fun to kind of take it apart and take a look at how it all works every now and then, right? Basically, you're inside the cab, you hit the switch, you turn on the electricity, and that activates the electromagnet that compresses everything that we've got right here. Now, there's a lot going on at this particular time. You've got these bearings riding on these little ramps. Those ramps are 15 1/1000ths of an inch. That's the difference between being locked in and not. So when these ride up because of the compression right there, they actually will engage this ring gear on the back side, and they'll push this gear out, which is actually sitting right here. So now all this energy is going that direction.
Now with the energy going to the side here, what it's doing is engaging your other axle, and the way it works is it's pushing over, engaging this axle and all these clutch packs right here, as you can see the way it is when it's all put together. So then you've got your full locking differential. What's nice about the ECTED system is the fact that it's two differentials in one, essentially. A full locking differential as well as a limited slip. And this was kind of the 10-cent tour of how the whole thing works. Really, for 99% of us, all we really care about is you can turn it on, you lock it up, and you watch it go. That's the 2-cent tour.
I kind of like your way of thinking right there. You know what we need to do is go to break right now. When we come back, we'll slide this in. Welcome back to TruckU. So the first trip out to the park, and we noticed that lack of traction was a big issue. A lot of guys were having it. Fortunately, that's an easy one to fix, and we don't want this truck to have that issue either. So what we're going to do is install the locking differential. This will help you go a lot of places that you could never go before. We did one in the rear. We got one up here in the front. This thing's going to be able to go all over the place. Now the system that we use is right here. It's the ECTED Max from Auburn Gear. It's a nice system. It's going in nice and smooth, but before we actually button everything back up, while we've got it all apart, we want to take a look at one more thing. Now, we're not changing out gears or changing gear ratios. We're just swapping out the carrier right there, but it's a great time to check our wear pattern, and I'm talking about where the ring and pinion gears meet, okay? So we put on a little compound right here, and we can spin the axle around, and that'll show us where the gears are meeting up, and we want to make sure that it's not too far on one side or the other. You want it right there in the meat of the gears. Otherwise, you can get some chatter, you can get a little bit of noise, you can wear the gears out prematurely, and we don't want to have that issue. So we check that out. This system looks good. Another thing to keep in mind is when you're going with this particular one, like the ECTED Max, you want to use a non-synthetic gear oil. You've got to use that for this particular system, and you want to use the limited slip additive. Fortunately, when you buy this, that's all part of the deal.
This vehicle here doesn't flex as good. We build a lot of them. This one was built years ago. I drive it on the street every day. It's very important to have a vehicle that's very flexible when you're doing this kind of stuff. And this may or may not make it up this mound of rocks, but generally it does all right for me. And I took the leaf springs off this originally when they came out and started making the coil spring conversions about 6 or 7 years ago, and I couldn't really afford it, so I custom built the coil springs and all just so it would flex better. Now they've come a long way with leaf spring kits and everything else, but I've been real happy with the coil spring setup. Want to hook this up yet? The biggest thing is that I usually quit whenever it gets bad, and I just throw the winch out because I really don't have nothing to prove to a whole lot of people. I'm just trying to have some fun. This is why it's important to have one that's more flexible than this one.
The next issue we came across out on the course was ground clearance. And a lot of these factory vehicles, you just don't simply have enough to run with the big guys, right? So the way you address that, you go up in the air. And that's what we're doing with this Jeep. We're going up 3.5 inches with this brand new rock crawler suspension kit. Now, this lift kit is probably as high end as you're going to find. And a few examples. Take a look at this lower control arm. If you look down inside the tube, you can see that these guys utilize a solid steel lower control arm. Now, a lot of companies on the market will utilize an 1/8 inch thick wall lower control arm, and some will go a little bit farther and go with a 1/4 inch thick. This is solid steel. It utilizes a 1 inch shank, and even at the point where the shank goes into the solid steel tube, you're still looking at a 1/2 inch thick wall. That is pretty serious. Now the other thing you'll notice about these lower control arms, when you put them up in place next to the factory ones, they've got this bend in it to give you even more ground clearance, which is going to come in handy. You'll also see that you've got a set of progressive springs. All in all, this is like a full-blown competition kit, and this is going to be a big addition to this Jeep.
These massive upper and lower control arms are ready to go in, but before we install them, let's take a look at a couple of the things that make this rock crawler suspension system so unique. You've got these crawler joints right here. Now these are cool, they're adjustable and these are tough. I've got one pulled apart over here and we can take a look at it. When they machine these things out, they're cut a big deep groove on the inside and they hit that with a marine grade quality grease in there, and that's going to hold up and be good and strong, but it doesn't end there as you're piecing this together. Now these races are made with what they call PT Meg material, and that is actually impregnated with graphite and Teflon. So that's going to aid in the lubricity as well, and that goes in there so it's good and strong, and then this piece goes on and you are ready to roll. That's going to keep it good, lubricated, quiet, and strong, and maintenance free for 3 to 5 years. When you're ready to rebuild this, it simply comes apart just like that, and you pull that out and you rebuild it and it's done. Here's another thing on this front control arm. Look at the size of this bushing housing. It's massive. This is like monster truck stuff. You're most likely never going to break this. Same PT Meg material on the inside of that too, so it's going to last and hold up. How does all this stuff help the guys that are out there on the trail? Good question. With the better, stronger pieces, this thing's going to be able to crawl around and move and go places it couldn't go before. And you've got less chance for breakage, and that's going to keep you out there playing for longer. So those are your big advantages. Now, right now, we need to go to break, but B-Man, oh, there you are. Excellent timing, dude. Like a knight in shining armor once again. You got that spring? Yeah. I'll pull down. All right. So that's how we'll keep these guys out there playing. And this is good. Problem solving today on TruckU, right?
There we go.
All right.
If you have a crack in your side mirror, it's easy to see why you should replace it with a new one from LMC Truck. These flat glass mirrors were used from 1977 to 87 and are exact reproductions of the originals. All the hardware is included with the mirror, plus the retainers and mounting gaskets. And the left and right mirror bases are made to fit the contour of the door, so you can't put the mirrors on wrong. LMC Truck also offers these mirrors in chrome and black. This tip is brought to you by LMC Truck. Restore, maintain, and customize your truck with parts and accessories from LMC Truck.
Welcome back to TruckU. Now we've got the upper and lower control arms from our rock crawler suspension kit installed, and that gives us time to come over here and take a look at some of the other goodies that are part of this deal as well. Now these are nice. It's the sway bar end links, front and rear, and the fronts are disconnectable if we need that. That's a nice touch.
Now we've also got stainless steel brake lines. Now these are definitely an upgrade over the factory ones because first of all, they're going to be a lot more durable than the rubber lines, plus they're made to compensate for that bigger lift we've got on, so these are cool. Now something you can't help but notice are these really cool looking shocks. They're all aluminum from rock crawler, which is great for lightweight applications, but you know, look at the fluted design on these things. That'll help dissipate heat. And the little fitting right here allows you to easily add a reservoir. Now these things are fully customizable to your applications and they're rebuildable, which makes it really nice.
You know what's nice is you can call those guys and say, I've got this particular vehicle and I drive like a maniac, and they'll custom valve it for you. That's kind of a nice deal right there. Another cool thing are the track bars, the adjustable front and rear track bars that we got. So we've got the front one in place. We'll bolt it on when we get the vehicle on the ground. But they are adjustable, like I said, and you think about this, if you're going to change the vehicle and lift it up and you're not changing out the steering geometry, well, as you lift it up, that actually the stock track bar is going to kind of swing that axle out to the left a little bit, and you need to bring it back in to keep everything centered. That's the nice part about these being adjustable. So in the future, in the front and rear, if we decide to go even higher with this thing and it pulls that axle out, we just make the necessary adjustments and everything is centered.
Here's this week's Spark Plug tip, brought to you by Champion Spark Plug.
Wouldn't you want to use the same plugs the professionals use on Sundays? Check out the Champion NASCAR plug from Federal Mogul. These high horsepower plugs feature a surface gap design that allows the engine builder to get the piston higher in the cylinder. This will help you get more compression out of the engine with a longer stroke. The design also eliminates gap growth, which is known to cause horsepower reduction. You can even run the same plug as top fueler Doug Coletta with Champion's Top Fuel plug. The longer insulator increases flashover protection, which can happen with the spark plug discharges at any point other than at the spark plug gap. This will reduce the risk of a misfire in that engine. Champion Spark Plug is the leading supplier to teams in NASCAR, NHRA, and Formula One.
Welcome back to TruckU. Now the big guy here tells me that I never give him anything, right? Well, that all ends here today. Take a look at this. This is cool. It's the Everblades heated windshield wipers from the W.N. Miller Company, and I know you can use these up in that frozen Arctic tundra where you live.
Absolutely. This is going to make my life a whole lot easier. Now, you've got to scrape the windshield off. You know, that's part of the chore, but the real problem is the blades themselves on the windshield wipers, because you go to peel them back, they're stuck to the windshield, they peel right off, and then you're in trouble.
Right.
These things will heat up. They'll keep the frost, the snow, the ice off of the blades, which means you can see going down the road in the worst winter storm.
Exactly. Now these are specifically engineered with function in mind right there, and they've got the nice silicone blade. They are the Everblades heated windshield wipers, and they are my gift to you.
I appreciate that.
This little gem right here is the Timken wheel bearing hub unit, and what it is, it's a direct factory replacement for the non-serviceable bearing hub unit that's in your newer vehicles on the road. You might even recognize the black and orange box.
Now, this is manufactured right here in the United States at Timken's factory in Canton, Ohio. Now, they've been an original equipment manufacturer supplier for the past 110 years. You take that experience, you combine it with precise tolerances, and you've got yourself one quality unit.
And you know the deal. When you use quality parts, you don't have to do the job as often because you're going to get it right the first time. That's what it's all about with the Timken wheel bearing hub unit. This is the 3M paint restoration system, obviously from 3M. And what it is, it's a great way to take old oxidized paint that just doesn't look good anymore and really make it look brand new all over again and keep it looking new as well.
Yeah, they make it pretty easy. They give you everything you need, include color-coded pads to go with each one of the steps, a simple 3-step process allowing you to bring your car or truck back to new again in terms of paint, and you can do it in your own garage and save a ton of money from going to a body shop. First of all, first step, you've got the scratch remover. Then you move on to the shine restorer, and then the synthetic wax protectant. Now, they also give you the scratch eraser pad, a patented product from 3M to get those deeper scratches out of that clear coat. So everything you need right here in this kit, and you can get that car looking like new again.
The nice thing about that is when you do that, you really notice the work that you did, right? As opposed to fixing something internally, and you spend all that money and you don't even notice it.
Yeah, instant gratification.
Exactly. That's what it's all about with the 3M paint restoration system. In keeping with the off-road theme, this is the BlackRock ATV assembly consisting of the wheel and the tire. Now let's take a look at this tire. It's a 26-inch self-cleaning mud tire that's built for trail use with all conditions performance.
Now it's got a 6-ply rugged design that performs, as Matt said, but let's face it, part of the battle is looking good, and this one does. It's got the tribal print, it's got the tribal lettering, and it matches up well with that BlackRock wheel.
Now these are also enthusiast driven, which means the guys that build these also take them out and play with them and test them to see what they can do. And that, my friend, sounds like a fun job. I don't know where you sign up for that.
Yeah, sign us up for that one.
For more information about anything you've seen on today's show, check out speed.com or visit our website at truckutv.com. Modern conventional motor oils lack the metal protection needed by older engines. What can I do to get it back? You may have heard that there are reduced levels of zinc and phosphorus ZDDP in today's engine oils, and in older engines, you really need it for wear protection. ZDDP is really good for extreme pressures like between the flat tappet camshaft and lifters. ZDDP is also especially important at engine startup, when most of the engine damage occurs. To restore ZDDP content back in your older cars and trucks, pick up a bottle of Rizone's engine oil supplement with zinc treatment. The ZDDP oil additive is good for all 97 and older gasoline engines and diesel engines from 2006 and beyond. One bottle treats 4 to 6 quarts of oil and makes new oils work in older engines. This tip is brought to you by Rizone, affordable solutions to expensive automotive repairs.
Hey, welcome back to TruckU. So today we've been spending a little time out at Jeeptoberfest and checking out some of these guys with their rigs going over the obstacles and seeing what kind of things can go wrong. Then we come back in here in the shop and do some easy fixes. You know what? We got a little bit of time left. Let's head back out there one more time.
Well, driving the Jeep without a sway bar really gives you a big advantage off-road. It allows you to have a lot more articulation, but it can also cause problems if you're on the road, a lot more body roll. definitely important to keep them hooked up while you're driving on the highway. Originally, I had like a 4-inch lift on mine, and I had my sway bars hooked up. Whenever you change the sway bar to either like an anti-rock or whenever you disconnect your sway bars, usually that's one of the first things that people learn on improving the capability of their Jeeps. Difference with the sway bar, it would be limiting this axle drop a lot, and it would be limiting the axle on the other side to be able to move up. So I wouldn't be near as far up this ramp. I would probably be maybe halfway to 3/4 of what I am right now.
Now, there's a cat with a sway bar issue, right?
Yeah, he was like Mikey last
A
year.
little bit resembling that. I think the issue was lack of sway bar. So
Right.
what the sway bar does is it controls body roll. Now the good thing is it'll keep you safe so your body doesn't roll over side to side. The bad part is if you want the ultimate in flexibility and when you're out there on the trail and you need that articulation, you're not going to get it with everything tied together. So what we've got here is a little something that's the best of both worlds. It's the Curry anti-rock off-road sway bar.
Yeah, and like you said, it is the best of both worlds. I mean, because what it does, it gives you that stability going down the highway, and when you're out on the trails and stuff, it allows you to articulate, but it won't let you over-articulate and get you in a bunch of trouble. The way it does that is the shaft actually twists enough to allow you to do both.
Sure.
And the other thing too, it's a convenience thing. Let's say you're out in the mud and you're unhooked and all that stuff. You get all full of mud, then you got to go digging through to try and hook back up. This is a whole lot easier.
Yeah, this is going to save you a lot of time reconnecting.
Right, and the way you set this thing is when it's down on the ground, and what you want to do is you want to go to level when you're at half travel in your suspension. This way, when you've got all the weight on the suspension, this will go up at about a 5-degree angle. The reason why you want that is so when you're at full droop, you don't go over center and get yourself in a lot of trouble that way when it binds up.
Yeah, this is going to be a very nice thing. And when people see this on there, they know you're serious too.
Yeah.
So while you're doing all these upgrades, right, you know what you're going to do. You're thinking to yourself, well, I'm a guy that's going to play in the mud pretty much all the time. I may never climb on rocks. Or vice versa, you might spend all your time on rocks. Keep in mind, there's a specific tire for any activity that you're going to do. So you might want to go with a more aggressive tire as well. That's definitely going to help you out.
And beadlocks are never a bad option.
Beadlocks are always a good idea. All right, that's going to wrap it up. We hope you enjoyed this and had some fun out there on the trail. You guys be careful and try not to break too much stuff, and we'll see you next time.
See you.
All right, man.